wide shot and then close up on you.
Perfect.
Actually,
It's much better.
rolling.
Oh, good.
Actually,
Having the wire angle.
Oh, yeah.
Maria's on the scene.
So this would be a good conversation.
Yeah.
We'll talk about Druid as well. Right?
About what?
Talk about Druid.
Yeah. Just give me a little lead with them, and then he can just leave it.
You know, I sent you an email that I spoke to him.
I haven't been able to. I was rushing out.
Well, anyway, just to let you know what I told him. I told him nice things. I said, you know, don't worry.
I know. I saw that one, yeah.
But he does use it. He's
ready, come up.
Yeah. We'll see.
Ready, Paula?
Yes.
the good thing.
Hi, this is Paula Gloria, and this show is called Farther Down the Rabbit Hole because we like to go into topics more deeply. There's one topic that merits a depth of consideration, and it's a topic that people usually shy away from unless they're actually faced with the situation, and that's the topic of cancer. So I'm particularly happy to be taking this deep excursion down a usually scary rabbit hole with two special guests. One is a public access producer and someone who's been on public access staff for many years. And the importance of public access is after you get knowledge, it's also important to share knowledge and to have those avenues of media clear so that that can happen. And so my guest on my far left is John Gulino.
Thank you, Paula. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining me here. And I have my very special guest, Gina Calmute, who has taken a trip and met a doctor who I have been aware of for a few months, but only actually after she brought me the book did I feel I could really spend the time to read it. I had borrowed Jane Goldberg's version, but I was a little bit influenced by Jane saying that he wasn't such a great writer. But really I realized when I read it, it's that he's writing it for doctors, so it's filled with so much medical terminology. So when she brought me my own hand-delivered copy, I thought, wow, and I called you up because you were at the restaurant hoping I was at home, but I wasn't at home, and you left it with the doorman. So when I read it, or I called you and I said, even before I read it, I just knew straight away, anybody that would bring me a book from Italy, I should have on my show. And then I started reading it, and he starts off about philosophy, and I happen to have been a philosophy major in college, but I thought, why spend so much time on philosophy when you're really talking about a cure for cancer? So it seems he was wanting to prepare the groundwork. So Gina Calmute, thank you for joining me on this show.
Thank you.
Can you tell people what took you to Italy, or how you came across Dr. Simoncini, because that's who we're talking about?
I received treatment here, and I'm not happy because
For
for cancer, and I'm not happy because the treatment here seems to do more harm than good. Well, I did a lot of homework, and I did a lot of research on this particular disease, and I found Dr. Simoncini, and what he was saying to me just made sense. And
on the internet, because you hadn't gotten the book
on the
yet.
internet,
Yeah.
and I followed him, and I read him, and I got the book, and I read the book.
When was the first time that you started reading on the internet?
Oh, I've been doing this months.
A year ago?
Maybe 7 or 8 months.
7 or 8 months ago, okay.
You know, but I do it every single day to find out. I need to be enlightened about what's really going on. So.
How many hours a day were you on the internet?
From like afternoon till nighttime, because I really want to learn what it is that I can do, instead of just doing what everybody else does.
So you come across all kinds of things, probably optimistic, pessimistic,
so
in
many
between.
things.
Yeah.
But when Dr. Simoncini spoke, everything he said made sense to me. It just went click, 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 and I said, you know something? I called him up. First I received his phone number at home, and I spoke to his wife, and I asked her, please, I need to speak to Dr. Simoncini. She gave me his cell phone number, and I called him on his cell phone. And I called him around 15 times. And I said, please, you have to see me. But you're in America. But I'll fly to Rome. I'll do anything. I need to see you. Just talk to me. Because a lot of people like to see this man.
Yeah, I bet.
Well, he finally agreed to see me, and we met. And when I met this man, he was as good as I thought. He was a good, patient man. He makes sense. His treatment makes sense to me. And right now, I'm not taking any treatment except sodium bicarbonate by mouth from him, and I feel 1,000 times better right now.
You know, when Jane Goldberg called you, it's the reason I did that show with you is because Jane called up and said, I have a patient who has not liked the radiation hormesis, some of the things Jane's been involved with. And would that lady who gave you the book agree to talk to her? And I said, yeah, I'm sure she would. But hey, I've got conference calling, so let me just call her up now. And the conversation was so nice, I started to roll the tapes and then created a show out of it. However, when I saw Jane the next day, she goes, but she never took any treatment there. And I said, and she goes, yeah, but she learned this, this, and that. And Jane said, yeah, but I could have told her that. I said, yeah, but that's not the point. The point is, until people understand, they don't know what to do. So that understanding is so important. If you had to go to Rome to sit down with somebody, because you were telling me that he explained to you as if you were a child, not looking down on you. Can you tell us what he, treat me, John, and all the viewers like a child and explain to us what he told you?
I was sitting in his office, and he said to me, do you know why chemotherapy doesn't work? And I go, well, it destroys your immune system. He goes, that, but you want to really know why it doesn't work? And I said, yes. He said, open your hand. He said, this is the tumor right here. Yes. He said, this is the cancer, this little callus right here in the middle, the root. He said, chemo shrinks the tumor. And he shows me literally like this. He goes, but chemo doesn't get that root out. So now this root grows up stronger. He said, if you cut a tree down and throw rocks on the dirt, the tree will grow stronger and grow through the rocks. Just like the cancer will grow again stronger because you didn't destroy the root. He explained it to me so simply, and I said, that sounds perfectly normal. You know, no one ever tried to explain cancer to me here like that. All they said was, oh, there's a lot of cells and they float around your body and incurable, and it's all negative stuff. He explained to me that nothing is incurable. Leukemia is a difficult cancer to find because they can't find the root of where it started.
Because it's in the blood. Because
it's in the blood, and they don't know where it started exactly, so it'll be a little more difficult. But he gave me such hope. And then he told me to take sodium bicarbonate by mouth, and I do that. And that washes your liver when you take that on an empty stomach. So that cleans the rest of the body. And cancer can't live in a high environment like that of oxygen and salt.
Of oxygen and salt, I see.
Because it carries oxygen through your body.
So that's essentially, you went all the way to Rome just to learn how to drink baking soda and water? No,
I went to Rome because they were going to put a catheter in my arm, which they did. But what happened was, when they went to put the catheter in my stomach, because I have in my uterus.
Because that's what you have, ovarian?
Oh, ovarian, uterus, in the uterus. That's where they believe it started, right? That's where the biggest mass was. So when they went to do that and they took the CAT scan, they saw that because I took the treatment here, it ate away so much fat, there was no room to put the catheter. And because of that, they didn't want to risk my life, they wouldn't do it.
Right, because you could perforate your intestines.
Right. So now I had this catheter in here, and I said, well, take it out. And I lost control of myself for a minute there. I said, take it out, because if you can't do this one, what's the sense? He said to me, please think about this. I go, take it out. They took it out. I go back to him and I go, I was shaken because this is like a big deal in my life. So he said to me, listen, they're going to do a laparoscopy where they go in with a camera and they take out each root with a suction, with like a vacuum. And it doesn't hurt you, it can't hurt you.
Each root of the tumor?
Right. They have a camera and a light.
So he knows now how to look at a tumor to find the root?
Right.
This is the first time I've ever
Extraction.
heard that a
Extraction.
tumor has a root.
Yeah. They go in. Oh yes, it has a root. That's
I
what
know, but I'm
no
just, have you ever heard that term, root?
Extraction?
No, extraction maybe.
Well, yeah, I've heard that, yes, there is a root to all tumors, and normally they would cut it. But she's mentioning something where they actually extract the entire culture.
Yeah, all the colonies.
Unlike a cutting,
Right. And it
which
doesn't-
can get into the bloodstream, and it just can, that's why sometimes
And
cutting
then-
doesn't help. But you mentioned something about the sodium bicarbonate. It's interesting because it is, I'm told that it is prescribed as a post-op, and it comes in a pill form. Is that right?
Yeah, but you know what? There's different sodium bicarbonates. This sodium bicarbonate is pure sodium bicarbonate.
You want to hold it?
It doesn't have aluminum in it,
Show
which
the
is
camera.
harmful.
You get a zoom?
There's only one other one
He's
like
going to come
that.
in on it. Oh,
It's in Italian.
yeah. It's Italian.
Yeah, it's pure sodium bicarbonate, no aluminum.
Okay, no aluminum. That's the
aluminum.
that's the poison.
Arm & Hammer
That's
has
the poison.
aluminum.
Right, that can hurt people if they don't know that.
Yes.
They need to know that they must get the pure baking soda without the aluminum.
Well, the ones you can get in America without the, I found out, that doesn't have aluminum is Bob's baking soda. And it
That's
says
what
no
I sent
aluminum.
to Druid.
Oh, that's good.
You know, and it has the
it's
same
good.
thing. It has the same thing, but you have to know, that you take a teaspoon of hot water with hot water in the morning, and if you have an empty stomach, it goes straight to your liver, which filters everything in your body. So in essence, I'm under halfway I'm under treatment, even though it's a small amount. Until I get back there, I'm going in March.
Like a home treat.
So you're going in March and he's going to do the laparoscopy?
Laparoscopy. They go through your belly button with a camera and a light and a vacuum, and every site that's listed, and then they look for more. They take out the roots, and then the catheter goes back in the arm, and then for 2 weeks I have to wash my liver through that catheter, and then the third week is every other day. You wash it with the sodium bicarbonate, and then eventually, like a month later, I don't have to do it, and then I'll have a CAT scan to see that there's absolutely
Now,
nothing.
explain, because I don't think John heard this, about why, after he talked to you, he said it would be like suicide to do chemo.
Oh, he said to me, I said, I'm going to go back to America, but I want you to do this procedure with me. He said, okay. So he said, Gina, let me just explain something to you. He said, I'm going to tell you that he likes me, and he wants me to get, you can see the man has a heart like this. He goes, if you take another dose of chemo, you're committing suicide. And I said, I know, I'm not doing it. I don't care what anyone says. And I came back to a lot of people pressuring me, go back, take the chemo, you don't know what you're doing, suicide. But they didn't investigate. They didn't investigate, they don't do homework. All they do is understand that there's 3 ways to treat cancer in this country: chemo, surgery, and radiation. And all 3 of them do damage. This has no damage to the person. There's no damage. So I feel like this is something I need to do.
Now, what about that case about the lady with breast cancer that they say he killed?
Okay, they don't like him because he's an oncologist, but he has a method of treating people that they don't, it's against protocol.
It certainly is.
So
everything they learned in medical school.
They try to pin this thing on him that this lady died after he treated her for breast cancer. And when they investigated and found out, well, they couldn't prove that he had anything to do with her dying, and he didn't. She died.
And I'm sure he would lose cases too. I mean, doctors have people die all the time.
Well, his amount of people is 0 compared to.
No, I know his is less, but he also, the feeling you get is that he wishes there could be more research. He wishes that the studies could be more consistent, because he's had to do all of this against such odds. It's sort of a catch-can.
Yeah, he's only one guy. He needs more people like him.
You know what he did?
To start a revolution.
You know what he did? He went to a children's hospital, and there was these little boys there, and they were on chemo, and they were ready to die. And the mother said, oh, I just want my kid to live.
I want to talk to my child. I remember that story.
Yeah, he went in there and he treated this child with sodium bicarbonate. The child is alive and well today.
Well, that's another story.
Well, it works like an astringent, really.
Yeah, it's a clean, it carries oxygen through the body, and when it does that, it shocks the cancer. So the cancer gets shocked and it dies off.
Right, it doesn't know how to respond. It's attacked and it sort of absorbs, but it doesn't know what it is, what it absorbs, because it absorbs anything. It absorbs moisture and culture. And what happens is the sodium bicarbonate contains a chemical or some type of...
No, it's just the pH.
Right, but it cannot the tumor eventually dries and falls apart.
Right.
It actually sort of...
It's so alkaline, it can't live in that environment.
Right, that's what I mean. It absorbs it, not knowing, and it cannot fight it.
He said that cancer is in colonies, right? And he said when that sodium bicarbonate hits that colony, it's shocked. And when it's shocked, that's when it starts breaking up. Because he showed it to me like that. He goes, it hits the tumor and it's shocked.
But you don't want it to be hit and break up in such a way that it goes and plants itself somewhere else.
It dies.
Where do we find sodium bicarbonate in nature? Does it exist or is it man-made?
Sodium bicarbonate exists in natural saliva. That's what I was reading about the cavities and how we get dental problems. It turns out that our saliva gets off kilter, so the pH balance is a very delicate thing.
Yeah, but sodium bicarbonate is salt. I see it as if you cut your hand, you put your hand in the ocean, and it heals it naturally. To me, it's the same thing.
We all have Mediterranean roots. You know, floating in the Mediterranean, there's just nothing like that.
Oh.
Well, the Dead Sea also, I mean, is all salt. Yeah.
Right.
A lot of people go there for health reasons.
I brought a dog back from Greece, and he was very sick. He had holes in him, and I put him in the ocean to clean up his wound. He's fine today.
Right. Right.
You know, I mean, it's a healer.
What do you know about colon cancer? Because we have a mutual friend on the internet that has, I guess it's really actually not very high up, isn't it?
He's at the stage 2, if that's what you mean.
Is it stage 2?
Yeah, he's at a stage 2.
Do you know what that means, Gina?
Yes.
Stage 2?
Stage 2 only means it traveled somewhere else. Stage 1 means you got it in one specific place. Stage 2 means it traveled. I have stage 4.
Yeah, we've seen the travel. We saw that. We saw the tumor creating another one and another one. They were overlapping and they were moving. They were migrating into 3 inches so far.
Yeah.
But they want to remove. They want to remove his entire.
Well, you know what? I had a problem. I had the same. I had a mass in my colon. And so I was in the hospital, and they were telling me, you know, we're going to operate, we're going to splice your colon and put it together and take the piece out and put it together. Oh, okay. So now I'm thinking about this, and they're going, I said, is this dangerous? Oh, no, we'll just splice it and put it together, it'll be fine. So I went downstairs to take an x-ray, and they had me sitting there like 2.5 hours. I'm very happy about that now, because the doctor that gave me the colonoscopy happened to be passing, and I said, excuse me, you know, I'm going to have surgery in a little while. He said, are you out of your mind? I said, what? He goes,
Was he already treating you for chemo?
He wasn't treating me for anything. He just took the colonoscopy. The surgeons were going to do the splicing.
They get a little knife happy.
Oh. He goes to me, you're crazy. You want my opinion? I said, yes. He goes, do not let them touch you with a knife. He goes, if anything, go and take the chemo. It'll dissolve on its own. But do not let them operate on you. That's my opinion. Thank you, doctor.
But you know what? They always say that a surgeon sees surgical solutions. You know, a radiologist sees radiation as a solution, and people doing chemo see that as the solution.
Because they're taught that.
Yeah,
you know,
but that's really amazing that at a hospital somebody would speak against, you know, you think there's that professional courtesy to, you know, keep their dirty secrets.
I'm happy that he did.
No, he must have been very...
He's a very nice man, you know.
Because if somebody was watching him, I think they would have been upset.
Oh, it was just me and him.
Yeah.
You know, and then when they came to get me, I said, I'm sorry, no surgery. They really got angry. What do you mean? We reserved the operating room.
What do you mean? The reservation's here.
It's 5 minutes away.
The colon.
You know, I said, I don't care. I changed my mind, and there will be no surgery done here. no.
You have a strong personality, don't you?
I can't let somebody do something to me that I really...
But it happens all the time. I have a pretty strong personality too, but when you're under that influence,
you can be swayed.
Right.
Yeah, and these are well-meaning people. And you haven't gone to medical school, and you haven't, done the study. You just got this kind of gut feeling. Later on, you can get a Jane Goldberg in your life, or you start to run across people who've had 40 years experience, and they're a little bit more quiet about it. I mean, I tend to, as soon as I learn something good, I want to share it. So I'm assuming other people are that way, but I'm realizing there's a lot of people who know differently than what socially accepted methods are. And they're quiet about it. They just don't want the trouble. They don't want to rock the boat. They'll tell their close friends or their family, but they don't, because you get a lot of negative reaction.
Yeah, doctors are always under investigation. There's always, they're always being looked.
But common sense is common sense. I mean, you don't have to go to medical school to see when it was explained to me like that.
I think medical school takes away common sense, to tell you the truth.
But
I think that's why they have those grueling hours, because that's what he's saying. In order to see, the research is there, but you read the write-ups that are done in the medical journals that you read while you're at the conferences, and you want to have time to be with your kids and for recreation. You don't want to go back to look at the original papers. And that's what he did. He did an enormous amount of work to put this together.
Well, when I went to Italy, I went over to the university hospital. It's a huge hospital. So in between this catheter, I went and I asked for the professor of oncology. I went there and I said, who's the professor of oncology? I need to speak to him. So he came down, nice man. And I said, I want to know about Dr. Simoncini and cancer, what's going on? I said, what is your opinion? He goes to me like this. He said, I'm an oncologist, and unfortunately, we don't have the answer. Chemo is only a Band-Aid. He said, but I have nothing to say about Dr. Simoncini that's bad because we've seen this man with great results. I can't say anything bad about the man. And then I went to radiology, and I asked the same question to the professor of radiology. I said, what about this procedure of Simoncini? What is going on? And he goes, well, he's had some results. We can't knock the man because there's been some results. And I said, okay. And then I went back. I spent the whole day in the hospital. Another oncologist.
Doing investigative journalism.
It's my life.
So he's a notorious figure in the medical industry.
Yeah, yeah.
Sort of like a renegade.
Yeah.
And they generally tend to be the ones who, they go through the trial and error.
The lightning rods.
Right. Unfortunately, it isn't just the woman with the breast cancer. We're talking in maybe a 6-year period, 7-year period. It's not just one person. There have been 3 others that happened, or 2 others, and they happened very closely, and they happened around 2002 or 2003. So he has lost patients, but the unfortunateness of it is that what autopsies were performed on these people, they didn't die of the cancer that they were being treated for. They died as a result of toxic poisoning from sodium bicarbonate. And that goes back to the woman with the breast cancer, but it says that the autopsy says that she had about over 20 injection sites in her breasts.
But it doesn't make sense because that's not his protocol. He describes how he deals with breast cancer, and there's only a couple of injections.
But she died of the treatment, not the cancer. That's the controversy. But what you're saying about Simoncini, that's why I come back to and say, this guy is a renegade, and there are going to be casualties in this pursuit of knowledge.
But that was 2002. And
well,
it's 2009 now, and he's still in the hospital. If he had his license taken away, he wouldn't be at the hospital, because she went and talked to the other doctors there, right?
Yeah.
Well, he's doing something right. I mean, it's not. I'm not saying that he's doing something wrong. I'm saying that he's managed to.
My frustration with the internet is you can have false information go out. And it's not to say that this lady didn't have 20 injections of bicarbonate of soda. It's not to say you can't have bicarbonate toxicity, but I've never heard of bicarbonate of soda being a toxic chemical. Obviously, anything in excess can be toxic. But when you start to search down these links and find who's responsible, you can't do it. So who's putting it out there? All I'm saying is she's come back from Rome. She gave me a book. I read it. It made sense to me. And she's saying she talked to other doctors in the hospital. Surely, if this was true, he wouldn't be at the hospital. That you can't have a doctor in your hospital that's not licensed. And now I know they take doctors out for a certain period. They take their licenses away, and then they have to struggle in court, and it can cost up to $1 million. It can cost $1 million to get it back.
They call that the rubber room. A rubber room is when a professional is, by a board of directors, will take the professional, the doctor, the teacher, and they put them in what they call reassignment courses, and they relegate them to almost like a prison, like a doctor's prison. Or a teacher's prison. They have these things now, the Board of Ed.
Oh, so then maybe they were talking about taking the license away because of, and then they cited these deaths.
Right, and then they relegate them into a program where they
That's interesting, because he did say, Gina, in the book, that he was taken off oncology and put into diabetes for a while. And then he took a break and he got a degree in philosophy. That's why he always goes back to quoting Hume and Schopenhauer and
Well, you know something?
Heidegger.
This country, the statistics say that over 1 million people are dying with prescribed drugs.
Yeah.
Now, I don't see those doctors going
and
to
the side
jail.
effects.
I think it's 23% the side effect
The
is
side
death.
effects.
The unfortunate, what do they call it? Undesirable side effect is death. 23% fatality.
But those doctors are not going to jail. Those doctors are not being, you know, they're saying, well, they lost a patient. Well, they lost a patient. And
yeah,
the patient,
no, that's a whole nother case, court corruption, and we had a whole nother discussion about that, starting with what is God, because people want to know on whose authority is it based. If these studies are not printed in peer-reviewed journals, the courts who rely on the peer-reviewed journals to come to their determinations can't come to a correct determination. So there's all kinds of ways to sort of block the information. That's why public access is so important, and that you were so forthcoming. You said, yes, post it on the internet, we'll put this on the internet, we'll put it on public access, and we'll ask more people, I would think, to become producers and have shows. Keep the discussion really lively, even off the internet, cable, and any way you can do it. I think it's important to share it.
people need to know. See, people, I believe, and myself included in the beginning, people are put in this dark room where the information is not being given to them. For me to find out all this, I had to sit at my computer day in and day out and ask.
We're coming to the close of our show, so ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here on Farther Down the Rabbit Hole. My name is Paula Gloria, and we've been able to speak to Gina Calmute, who just came back from Rome, where she met Dr. Tullio Simoncini, and I hope to have her as a guest again.
Anytime.
Yeah, thank you, Gina.
It was nice meeting you.
Nice to
And
meet
thank
you,
you,
too.
John, for joining us
Nice to
on the
meet you.
show.
Thank you, Paula.
Do you think Druid will learn something from this?
I hope so. We should do another show on him someday, see how he's doing.
Maybe he could call in even. Do you feel, did he explain colon cancer to you? Because you said that was his greatest success, was in, I guess because the colon can hold the fluid. The
He said
soda.
colon cancer, what they do with it is when the sodium bicarbonate goes in, it scratches the colon, and when it scratches the colon, it doesn't need to go in the colon to get that mass.
Right, it's abrasive.
It just has to be abrasive. He said it scratches the colon, and then that's when the tumor dies. And you know how many days it takes that tumor to die? 6 days.
Yeah. And he's got
But do you get the roots?
The
lung cancer report was good. Yes.
Yeah.
From red cells to white, red cancer turned white.
How does he administer it to lungs?
It goes through a catheter.
Yeah, there are
You
two
know how he
tremors.
does?
Because you know what, the hemp oil he puts in a vaporizer.
Hey.
That made a lot of sense.
Well, you know what he does? He gets the artery that's attached to
Thank you, Alan.
that gene.
How do you get into the colon?
They scratch the colon
How does it get into the colon?
with a catheter.
Oh, how about like
Colonoscopy. He said colonoscopy.
externally, internally?
I think it's through the catheter, because he said the catheter, they put the catheter in, and what they try to do, like when a man's got prostate cancer, what he does is he gets the artery that's attached to the prostate,
Yes.
and they feed that artery the sodium, and that artery feeds the infected area.
What if you just took it internally? Would that clear everything?
I'm doing that now.
What are you drinking it?
I'm drinking a teaspoon of hot water and a teaspoon of